I'm here to introduce Zapbox again for the third time. You might have seen it introduced already, but it's always good to have things introduced multiple times so you don't forget them. So this is kind of our story about how we took inspiration from Google Cardboard and sort of pushed the limits of what we could do with simple passive components. So to keep the Cardboard price point, but to offer some new features. So we started a while ago. There's a very old photo of me back from about 2007 or so. I was actually doing a PhD at the time, even though I look about 12. And we were, together with Connell, we'd kind of, during university, I'd written some tracking code and Connell had written a platform around it. We spun that out. We met a few slightly older looking guys who were a bit better at actually making money from this stuff. And we founded Zappar. We work, generally, most of our revenue is doing project work for people. So in the retail sector, we work quite a lot in that, or marketing, and also kind of education, internal education for corporates. Our team has now grown. We're based in London. There's about 35 of us now. We've got a sales office in San Francisco as well, and a guy, Dave Francis, in Australia, who seems to know absolutely everyone, so you probably already know Dave. So mixed reality is a cool thing. It's kind of larger scale, generally larger scale experiences than AR, and you're freed from that kind of one-to-one link between target image and content. So just to be able to put virtual content embedded in the space with you is a cool and interesting thing. Clearly, at the moment, it's really expensive. HoloLens is the way that most people tend to go right now, but $3,000 is a lot to pay, especially for that kind of creative hobbyist developer audience. And so, inspired by Google Cardboard, we wondered if we could get to a kind of HoloLens-like experience, but for a fraction of that cost. And so we chopped a bit of a hole in a bit of cardboard, and made a few other things out of cardboard to build a prototype, and found that it worked quite well. So we've got the markers there are a new style of marker, which can be detected when they're really small in the camera image. The things you see, the prototype controllers became much more kind of solid HTC Vive-like things, but still with a little constellation of unique point codes there. We've also added a little analog slider, which everyone loves. That's not yet implemented in the software, but it's nice to have something to fiddle with when you're playing with this stuff. It will be implemented. It's all going to be good. So we can track these controllers independently. So we've given you 2 of these. Then also in the box, you'll get 10 larger scale point codes, and we use these to track the world environment. So because we were only using existing smartphones, and we didn't want to add depth sensors or anything complicated, and we didn't want to limit ourselves to environments where SLAM would work well on smartphone cameras. So that's why we've got markers for world tracking, although there's a kind of roadmap that involves fusing this data with more natural feature odometry type tracking to really solidify that user position in space. So we put this on Kickstarter back in November. We priced it at $30. We then worked out whether we could make it for $30. It turned out we just about could, but we probably shouldn't have included shipping with the Kickstarter campaign. But there we go. There's the campaign. We smashed our goal pretty quickly. We ended up raising 280% of what we wanted, which was nice. Pre-orders are open now, and there's a big ship somewhere on the Atlantic coming to our US distribution center that has another few thousand. So if you get a pre-order in today, they'll probably start being dispatched around the end of this month. And so all content for Zapbox is built using ZapWorks, which won an award last night. Woohoo! And that allows people to quickly build content using our visual editors and share it and publish it without having to build an app for each piece of content. So that is a cool thing. ZapWorks Studio here is the most complex tool, and that's the one that we use for ZapWorks content, which allows rich timelining, facilities, and interaction. There's some more features. Oh, not that yet. Right, live demo is really the main point of this talk, so let's try and swap over to that. Hope there's nothing, no IP being linked here on my screen. That looks all right. Oh, okay, this isn't my PIN number, don't worry. It was actually our CEO's PIN number, but then he lost his card, so he's now changed it, so we're all good there. Right. Let's full screen as I'm here. So this is the Zapbox app, which currently looks very similar to our Zappar app. So it's scanning for Zap codes here, which will download content. So content gets pushed up to the cloud, gets associated with the code, and then on scanning the code, it will download that content. So let's try that again. Oh, okay. I wasn't actually meant to show you that yet. Let's go backwards. So the first job is to lay out your markers. I'll swap them around, nothing up my sleeves. And then we hit a button here to start the map building process. So the lighting in here is a little bit awkward, so these are quite reflective. But we'll see how we go. So we press this button to start building. We've got a much nicer UI around this, but it was broken today for some reason. So this is the old UI. But now we've detected all these codes in the map and essentially do a kind of SLAM-like solution to work out their relative positions. And then once we've done that mapping, we can track things relative to the map. So this is just an alpha channel video, so it's very flat. But whichever subset of codes we can see, we can track. So he's not tracking on one particular code, he's tracking on the kind of arrangement of codes that we've just laid out here and mapped really quickly. So we can obviously show all types of content now. Now we've got this map available. This is one of my favorite little opening demos. And we can also render this in stereo now. And we've only got one camera still. So we don't have perfect stereo for the video background, but we can render it on the plane of the table here. So at least until I try to interact with it, the bunny does look like he's standing in the right place for both eyes, and it's quite a believable effect. You can come along to our booth 208 and try it out for yourself. So that's just the kind of world user tracking. Powered by these point code markers. Where it gets really mind-blowing and really hard to hold everything I need to hold is when you also allow tracked interactions to happen. So here's a mind, here's a sparkler. Then I can sort of physically connect the two things, so tracking those two things independently. Boom. Mind equals blown. So that's the basic principle. With a few bits of cardboard, we can track the user in the space, and we can have independently trackable controllers to enable these new forms of interaction at a price point that really is completely unheard of. So really democratizing access to mixed reality was our goal when we were creating this. Here's just another content example, more on the kind of model visualization line. And again, there's just some physical interaction here. So with the controller, I can reach forward and touch this little moon button to go to night mode and just swap between these modes here. And then either in stereo or in just standard kind of full screen mode, depending on the use case. So we see all kinds of applications for this. The next one is a small example of education. So we have a lot of educational users who are excited mainly by the price point of this. Clearly, some schools have invested in smartphone-type devices and cardboard headsets to do VR, Google Expedition kind of stuff. And this offers a way to add another level of sort of tracking to that existing hardware that they've invested in. Happens to be the other controller here, but I can just go and select Jupiter, say, and would potentially see some more information about those planets. What have we got now? Oh yeah, this is the final little one. And the entire reason for trying to get the audio set up. Yay! So there's a lot more lag on the screen than I've got here in front of me. And the real reason I like this demo is because it lets you show two controllers being tracked at the same time. Yay! So there we go. That's the end of all the demos. I've hopefully left enough time for a few questions. Great. 5 minutes of questions. Ask away. Yeah, sure. Can probably show you some of it. So let me mirror the screens because this is weird. Okay, so this is Zappar Studio. And so this has a hierarchy of nodes here for dropping in, for arranging your scene. You can drop in media files over here, so 2D, 3D assets, audio files. Down here at the bottom, we have like a timeline view. So you can control those nodes. Mainly for if you were animating 3D objects, you would do that in a separate package and then import that in. But here we're just animating the animation frame property of that 3D object to play through its animation. But we could obviously combine that with other animations of other properties in this same view. And then the other aspect to it is the scripting views. So all of the underlying logic for these scenes is written in TypeScript. So it's a derivative of JavaScript, but given that it has type safety, it also gives us much better automatic autocomplete. And so this editor is sort of embedded here in the tool, and that allows us to do some kind of drag and drop interactions here. So I can reference those nodes, and then I can, with full autocomplete, access their properties. Can't remember what's on an accelerometer, but you get the idea. So then once you've got your scene in a place that you're happy with, so this is a bit like a prefab in Unity speak as well. So this is we call it a subsymbol that allows us to author a kind of individual part of an experience and then instantiate it in multiple places and reuse it in other experiences. Once you're happy with your content, you can hit preview or publish, which will. Oh, now this is, yeah, okay. That would push the content up to the cloud and give us a zap code that we could then scan to view the content. Yeah, if I was on the internet, which I'm not. Anyone else? No problem. Thanks.